In the last 3 years, at least 5 OnlyFans creators have been victims of violent crimes under circumstances that go beyond any coincidence. Melanie Juarez, 21 years old, found with 14 stab wounds in a boarding house in Rosario. Maria Kovalchuk, 20 years old, found with multiple fractures on a road in Dubai. Anna Polly, 27 years old, fell from the 8th floor of a Brazilian hotel. Carol Maltese, 26 years old, dismembered and hidden in a freezer in Italy. Polina Sitnova, 20 years old, abandoned beaten on the outskirts of Dubai. They all had something in common. They were young women between 20 and 27 years old, active creators with thousands of followers, and all disappeared during what seemed to be legitimate professional opportunities. The recruitment method is practically identical. Initial contact through social media by supposed professional photographers or modeling agents. Promises of paid sessions, lucrative collaborations, or trips to exotic destinations with covered expenses. Dubai appears in at least 3 cases as the destination where they expected millionaire opportunities. The warning signs are always there. Behavioral changes, phones that stop responding, social media with automated content, stories that don't match between supposed collaborators. But what we will discover goes beyond coincidences. There is a system, specific methods, and names that repeat again and again. Melanie Juarez, the wrong neighbor. Melanie Juarez was 21 years old and was exactly the type of young woman these predators seek. Brilliant, hardworking, with real economic needs, she had been flag bearer in elementary and high school, won mathematics and chess Olympics. But when she lost her job at a cell phone business during the pandemic, she had to reinvent herself. She was a bachata and salsa teacher, worked as a delivery driver, and had OnlyFans to supplement income. She maintained a tense relationship with her mother, who demanded too much academically when she was a child, even hitting her to make her study. That's why she moved out alone in early 2021. By January 2022, Melanie was renting a 2x2 meter room on 9 de Julio Street 500 Rosario. She shared kitchen and bathroom with other tenants of the boarding house. On December 17, 2021, Matias Ezequiel Dominguez arrived, 27 years old. Something immediately strange. He paid all of January in advance without anyone asking him to. In boarding houses, people pay week by week, day by day. Nobody pays a full month ahead of time. From the first day, Matias began harassing Melanie. He intercepted her when entering or leaving, followed her on social media, sent her messages that she ignored. The neighbors noticed his obsessive behavior immediately. Her last WhatsApp connection was Sunday, January 16, 2022, near midnight. Her sisters tried to communicate the following days, but the phone was turned off. What was strange was that she hadn't posted anything on social media since that Sunday, when she normally posted content daily. 2 friends approached the boarding house on Monday the 17th. Matthias lied to them, saying he had seen her leave with a man in a pickup truck. According to the death data, Melanie had already been murdered when he supposedly saw her get in. On Tuesday the 18th, they found her body. She was naked, with 14 stab wounds and defensive marks. She had fought for her life. The television had been on for 36 hours to camouflage screams. Matthias had fled on Monday with all his belongings. They captured him 10 days later. In January 2025, he was sentenced to only 23 years for simple homicide, rejecting femicide, aggravating factors, despite evidence of premeditation. Maria Kovalchuk, the porta potty parties. Maria Kovalchuk was 20 years old and came from Lviv, a city in western Ukraine about 70 kilometers from the border with Poland. In 2022, she had started producing content on OnlyFans, and her youth and beauty helped her gain hundreds of followers quickly. Not only on that platform, but also on Instagram, where she promoted her paid content. What made Maria different was that she had already traveled to Dubai before to work with a modeling agency, and everything had gone perfectly. This previous experience made her feel confident about the process. When a new invitation came in March 2025, she saw no reason to doubt. 2 men who presented themselves as industry modeling representatives contacted her to invite her to an extremely exclusive private party at a luxury hotel in Dubai. As with most of these jobs, all costs were covered by whoever was inviting her. The proposal included that after the event, on March 11th, she would take a direct flight to Thailand, another completely paid trip. On March 9th, Maria called her mother, Anna, from Dubai, to tell her where she was and the plans for that night. She told her she wouldn't stay long because she had the flight to Thailand scheduled. This would be the last conversation Anna would have with her daughter. But here is where something much more sinister begins to be revealed. Because when Maria disappeared and the family managed to contact the organizer of the supposed party, this man declared that Maria had never attended his event. Moreover, he said he didn't even recognize the names of the two men who had sent the invitation. What Maria didn't know is that she had probably been deceived into participating in what are known as porta potty parties. The name comes from the degrading practices that occur at these private events where Arab sheikhs and men of extreme power pay millionaire sums, between $50,000 and $100,000, to hire influencers and OnlyFans creators for their most twisted fantasies. These parties include practices like urinating and defecating on women, hence the name chemical toilets. But it doesn't stop there. Testimonies from survivors speak of physical abuse like pulling out teeth, complete shaving, torturing with metal hooks, beating until fracturing bones, and forcing them to perform acts that go beyond any human limit. Maria disappeared for 10 days. On March 19th, police contacted Anna to inform her that her daughter had been found, but her condition was far from ideal. They found her on the side of a road on the outskirts of Dubai, with multiple fractures in arms, legs, and spine. She underwent several emergency surgeries and was kept in pharmacological coma because she was at risk of death. The fractures were so severe that she seemed to have been subjected to extreme violence for days. But when Anna asked the police what had happened, she got a surprise that left her speechless. The Dubai detectives maintained that her daughter had suffered an accident caused by her own irresponsibility. According to them, Maria had entered the restricted perimeter of a construction site, probably under the effects of alcohol or substances, climbed to high floors, and finally fell from a great height. But this version had too many holes. Maria was found without any of her belongings. No cell phone, no cards, no documents. The area where she appeared was quite far from the hotel where she stayed, but it was central with thousands of people passing daily. How could she have been there for 10 days without anyone seeing her? Medical personnel revealed unofficially that upon admission to the hospital, Maria presented multiple bruises consistent with struggle or fight, but these were not documented in the official report by order of the police who brought her. The police were actively covering up what had happened. Ukrainian authorities sent a delegation to open an investigation for human trafficking. Maria regained consciousness days later, but until the last available report, she still couldn't speak. Her version of events remains unknown. Anna Pali and Polina Sitnova, the pattern repeats. Ana Beatriz Pereira, known as Anna Pali, was 27 years old and was a Brazilian influencer with adult content. In the early morning of January 23, 2025, she fell from the 8th floor of the Hotel Mont Blanc apart in Nova Iguaçu, about 40 kilometers from Rio de Janeiro. Anna was accompanied by 3 men who presented themselves as content producers. According to reports, they were filming intimate scenes when the incident occurred. The 3 men gave contradictory versions about the events prior to the fall. One could say she slipped, another that there was excessive use of force during filming. Brazilian police initially worked with the suicide hypothesis, but as the investigation progressed, this possibility was ruled out. The 3 men present were not arrested immediately, and so far the autopsy results have not been revealed. Authorities are reviewing security cameras and have seized Anna's phone as part of the investigation. Anna's boyfriend, Pedro Henrique, expressed his pain on social media and demanded justice if it's confirmed that someone was responsible. Close witnesses revealed that Anna had been receiving pressure from some followers to create more daring content, which could have influenced her decision to work with these supposed producers. Just 5 months later, in June 2025, another practically identical case appeared. Polina Sitnova, a 20-year-old Ukrainian model with established OnlyFans, was found seriously injured on the side of a road in Dubai. She had disappeared days before, after traveling under the promise of participating in an international fashion campaign. Polina appeared bloodied and with evident beatings after being last seen on June 10th. Passers-by who found her immediately alerted local authorities. She was rushed to a hospital, where she remained in shock but out of mortal danger. Ukraine's Ministry of Interior confirmed that Polina had been a victim of a transnational trafficking network for sexual exploitation purposes. The investigation revealed that she traveled with other Ukrainian citizens under false promises of work in international modeling. What connects these cases are not only the similar circumstances, but the institutional response. In Brazil, the investigation advances slowly, without arrests. In Dubai, local authorities minimize the severity and present official versions that don't match the medical evidence. Ukrainian and Emirati police now coordinate with Interpol, but those responsible continue operating. These cases confirm that we are not talking about isolated incidents. There are organizations that specifically seek young women on platforms like OnlyFans, study their profiles, identify economic vulnerabilities, and attract them with professional promises to subject them to extreme violence. The victims share specific characteristics: age between 20 and 27 years, established followers, evident economic needs, and willingness to travel for work. The predators don't act on impulse. They have systematic methods and international operation networks. Carol Maltesi, the trusted predator. Carol Maltesi was born in 1996 in Italy, and at 26 was already the mother of a small child. She worked at an airport until the pandemic changed everything. She lost her job and had to find another way to support her son. It was then that she discovered OnlyFans as an opportunity in the digital world. Her charisma and natural beauty helped her gradually gain hundreds of subscribers. Carol didn't live with her son. He was with his father in Verona, but she visited him frequently and maintained a good relationship with her ex. All family members described her as a loving, patient, and smiling mother who took great care of her little one. It was during this period when she met David Fontana, a 43-year-old neighbor who was a banker by day, an amateur photographer by night. Davide offered to help her with her photographic productions, and Carol accepted. He had an Instagram profile where he showed provocative images with artistic pretexts and contacted young girls with excuses of creative projects. Neighbors remembered the constant coming and going of young and attractive women to the building where Davide lived. It was the perfect facade to feed his fantasies and his need for control. What began as a work relationship between Carol and Davide eventually became romantic, and he left his wife to formalize the relationship with Carol. But Carol met someone else. During a shoot, she met Salvatore Galdo, an adult film actor who lived in Prague. Something special arose between them. They genuinely fell in love. Salvatore gave her an engagement ring that Carol always wore, and they began making serious plans. Moved to Verona to be closer to Carol's son and build a life together. Salvatore didn't trust Davide. He saw him as an obsessive, morbid man who was too present in Carol's life. He constantly advised her to stay away from him, that he wasn't a good influence. But Carol perhaps didn't completely see the danger he represented. At the end of 2021, Carol had already told all her family and friends about the imminent move to Verona. She wanted to be close to her 6-year-old son and continue with her OnlyFans work from there. On January 7, 2022, she attended an event at a nightclub in Bolzano, accompanied by Davide. During that night, Carol stayed chatting for a long time with DJ Edoardo Santangelo. She told him about her upcoming move and how proud she was of her work. When the conversation turned to romantic topics, Carol explained in a whisper that although Davide was her neighbor who took photos and kept her company, another man was her true unconditional love. This would be the last time Edoardo would see Carol alive. On January 10, 2022, Carol told Davide that she planned to move to start her new life with Salvatore. This news didn't sit well with him. He would no longer have access to Carol. He could no longer see her, photograph her, or control her time. According to him, they were at Carol's house recording content when he proposed a consensual game. But at one moment, he took a hammer and hit her several times on the head. Then he strangled her and finally stabbed her. They were multiple violent blows, a sudden and lethal attack that had clearly been premeditated. After killing her, David stayed several days in the house. He used Carol's phone to respond to messages pretending to be her. He even continued posting the content she had accumulated on Instagram, pretending she was alive. He bought a freezer online, put the body in there, and weeks later dismembered it completely before throwing the parts in bags into a ravine in the province of Brescia.